Our first soldier beetle of the year. That means aphids are out. This is an ornamental holly, which is not native, I don't believe. We do have native hollies, but it's not something, I just have something against plants with thorns all over them. Especially the leaves, and if you've ever stepped on one of these, it's not the most comfortable thing. But they're flowering now. One of the early flowering trees and shrubs. And they have really simple flowers, which ants are very able to get into, or walk on in this case, and just steal the nectar. And this entire shrub is actually covered in ants that are stealing nectar from all these flowers. I don't really notice any berries on this thing at all, so they're probably stealing it to the point where it's not getting pollinated by other things. Either that or it needs to cross-pollinate, which I'm not really sure about. So let's look at some other branches here. Not the best angle, but this is Campanata ascaria, one of the smaller Campanata species. Almost half the size of a Pennsylvanica worker. And they're finally coming out. This species probably lives in my shed here. But even they're out here collecting nectar from these flowers. The Campanata stealthily moving around to avoid the Cremetiaster. Which dominate this entire plant here. Try to keep it in focus as it's constantly coming and going. They don't seem to fight one another. The Campanata kind of knows its place and just runs away. Every time they interact. I'm actually holding pretty steady here, it's just there's wind. Anyway. So this plant here is wild Camassia, which is a native bulb that we have, sometimes called wild hyacinth. I think this is a particular cultivar, I think it's Bee Bliss or something like that. I bought it because honeybees really like it, supposedly, but today's not a good day to show that off. Camponotus pennsylvanicus are actually stealing nectar from all the flowers along here. Most plants seem to have one or two workers on them. It's not a bulb too many people grow. I do see a bee out down there. It's not a honeybee, but it is a bee. See if I can do this without bumping it. I bumped one of these earlier and all the ants just jumped right off of the plant. Here is a major worker. Camponotus pennsylvanicus. Found our first aphid of the year, though what it's doing on Camassia, I don't know. I didn't think bulbs had aphid problems. Behind it, though, two more Pennsylvanica workers. Not doing a whole lot, possibly because I'm here and they can smell my breath, or maybe they're going after a particular part of the flower. One seems to have found something tasty. Normally you don't see these out during the day, but it's kind of a cloudy day today. It just finished raining. Yeah, they're stealing nectar from the flowers, alright. I see more Campanatus out. This is Campanatus suburbatus, which is another one of the smaller species you don't see too much of. And a roly-poly walking about. And also foraging on this plant is a wild geranium, is another Campanatus pensylvanicus worker. Tiny one, but that's it. Where are you? Some type of gnat or something. But they nectar scrape on these plants. They seem to do a lot of foraging on these dreary days. When they can. I have other plants of this in the yard with the flowers open. A lot of activity here. Tapenomys sessile. And down here we have a Nylandria. Another one up here too. Oh, just nectar scraping, little bits of pollen and such that fall down from the trees. Or are excreted from the plant, usually on new growth. Some plants actually have pores. A bird just landed above me. On my grapevine. What the hell are you doing? Must be a young one. Another Campanatus, I believe, carrier. It's on Golden Alexander, which are usually... Maybe they got aphids underneath the flowers, but I don't see any quite yet. There was just a Lasius alanius worker running around, but I don't see him now. Or her. Anyway. This is the flower to a pawpaw tree, which has a spider inside of it. Probably waiting for some sort of a mold gnat or something, or a vinegar fly to come and pollinate the tree. Which I often see, though I'm not sure today is nice enough. Oh, where'd he go? He's hiding in there. Yeah, he's hidden real good. Huh. Lasius alanius. With yellow legs here. Some of these don't have yellow legs. Ever the opportunistic nester. Tapenomys sessile. See if I can't locate a queen. Let me see. A bunch spilled out down here. So we're in the meadow garden again, here at a ground level, and I see some Tapenomys sessile eagerly moving their nest somewhere. See, Camassia not quite open yet. They are moving into this log here. And also I had a Campanatus male in my hand a moment ago. So they are apparently flying. Thought I saw, yes. Formica pallidiflora foraging out here by the meadow, so that's good to see. There's likely another colony of these somewhere more adjacent to the meadow garden. This ant is one of the more prominent nectar thieves in my garden, so once everything starts flowering more prolifically in the meadow area, I'm sure I'll see a lot of that happening. Speaking of the devils, these little Tapenoma seseli actually are stealing nectar from this dandelion here, and I just watched them attack a bee that tried to land and work the flower. Ooh, speaking of bees, here's something odd. Called a bee fly. They're parasites on, I think most of them are parasites anyway, on bumblebees. I don't see these very often. They're very weird looking. You see them drawn in old cartoons, Bugs Bunny and such, and I never knew what the hell they were drawing until I saw one of these in person. Well, let me get real close, aren't we? It actually scared me because it flew at my face, and I made a noise that was less than manly when that happened. But anyway, live and learn. They're actually kind of harmless. Our first Tetramorium war between two colonies of Tetramorium. Aspidium. Most of this is non-lethal. They're kind of just grabbing onto each other's jaws. And basically seeing who has the better numbers here. And slowly this mass of ants will move toward one colony or the other. And if they make it all the way to one of the colonies, that colony usually gets either destroyed or integrated into the own one. Into the other one. They only tolerate one queen per colony, though. So there's that. I do see some letting each other go. Like a test of strength kind of thing. No real stinging one another. Which is what these ants would do, they sting. They don't spray acid at all. This is a native flame azalea, which has yet to flower. I have a bigger one of these in my yard, but it's not as nice as this one. I think they do appreciate more sun than what I'm giving the larger plant. But I'm down on my knees here, and this one is going to flower this year. It's the first time it's going to do that. But the thing about this plant is, ants like to lick at the nectar along the leaves, but along the flower petals here, there's a sticky substance that actually traps ants, and I've seen this happen. The idea being to stop the ants from stealing the nectar from the plant, which is kind of an issue, because if you don't have nectar, then you're not going to get pollinated. But what this does is also provides a tasty treat to hummingbirds that will pollinate the plant. So I'll check back with this when it opens up, and we'll see if we caught any ants. I can see a few here doing something. I don't think these get aphids. This is a deciduous species, not an evergreen, so it has to grow out new leaves every year. So I'm assuming they're just nectar scraping the slight bits of sap that come out with all the new growth. Philippus imperis or Penelope in Paris, Penelope. Nectar scraping inside of actually a Japanese cherry that came up as a weed. It's one of those plants that's like between fences, and it's a problem because they get pretty tall. So I need to get rid of this, but for the meantime, the ants are nectar scraping it. It's in the genus Prunus, which is usually really good about producing pores and things that secrete nectar for ants to go after instead of stealing nectar from the flowers. You see a lot of that in that Prunus genus. Bug on my finger. Alright. This is a black cherry tree, or a native black cherry, which is more of like a bird plant. You don't actually eat the berries to this thing. It's another one in the Prunus genus, or genus Prunus. It's odd to saying that. And ants seem to really like it. Of all the plants in my yard, this one probably gets the most caterpillars, most of which are just random moths that have odd life cycles. Some of them bore inside the leaves, other ones you'll actually find mimicking parts of the plant, doing stuff like that. Other ones, they're supposed to turn into like larger swallowtails, and the red-spotted purple uses this one, but the trouble is I have too many ants and different types of ants foraging all over the thing, so I don't actually get to see all the wonderful butterflies that this tree produces. Going on another branch, you see more Camponotus here. I believe this is the species Caria. Trying to follow it. And they are all over this tree. Later on in the summer, I will find like 5 different species of ants on this tree, all at once. And they're all fighting to basically remove the eggs from caterpillars and things before they get a chance to hatch and do their thing, because the red-spotted purple actually has a defense against ants. They build a little stick out of their frass and silk, and whenever the ant comes running toward them, they go running onto their little poo stick and they say, "Haha, I'm on a stick made of poo." And the ants don't step on that. So, one of the wonderful things, little fun facts I can bring you on your evening while watching a show about ants. Seems to be a bustling food stop here. I've been seeing little inchworms. Or, I guess in this case it's more like a 1/4 inch worm. But ants will actually devour these things. All the little green caterpillars, they typically don't have any sort of chemical defenses. Whereas things like the monarch that are more brightly colored, or, you know, black and white striped, more obvious and standing out and easier to find, not trying to blend in with anything, or mimicking leaf damage to a caterpillar would leave when it produced. You know, these are the types of caterpillars ants go nuts for. So I'm going to feed it to my colony.